Hey guys, it is Bex here, and I am here with the fabulous Quentin Vinny, who is joining us once again for another video. We are going to be talking about anxiety, healing, all kinds of gritty stuff. We just did a She Has 4 Minutes video. I feel bad saying she. Because you're a guy, so clearly you're such a manly guy. He's a yoga instructor. He is a health and wellness coach. He's a dad. You're also someone who used to suffer from anxiety.
Correct.
And we have that in common.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that and how you found healing, because this is something people in my audience, we use so many different words for it. You know, even in patience, I did a meditation on patience and how that can really be about anxiety and, you know, displaced worry and irrational fears. But let's get talking about anxiety. So you have a diagnosis.
Yes. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety and panic disorder when I was 26.
Okay. And
I'll be 31 this year.
You're a baby.
A grown baby.
But it's going on for a long time for you to get the diagnosis.
Absolutely. I was originally diagnosed at 14.
Okay.
Yeah. With just anxiety, though.
And
anxiety and
how did that
depression.
show itself?
My actions. It really came in school. I acted out a lot in school. I was very antisocial sometimes, just very down and just kind of like not wanting to be bothered. And I think my teachers like kind of saw a trigger.
Okay.
And felt like that was something that, you know, that we should have pursued further. And so my mother decided to move forward with that.
Now, you were saying when we were talking before off camera that your mother was kind of anti-medicine. Was it because she feared doctors, or that she wanted to take a more holistic approach?
I'm not sure what the cause was. You know, she was just very non-medical. Like,
Okay.
she just really didn't care too much about medicine. She felt like medicine, even at that time, was being overused, overprescribed. The one thing that she would always tell me is like, I don't want my child to become addicted to this. She didn't want a child as an addict. So she kept me as far away from it as possible.
And I was complete opposite, because I was diagnosed. Well, I wasn't diagnosed. I started having episodes of panic, which they really didn't know what was going on when I was 8 years old. And they put me on lithium first.
Wow.
Because there was nothing for kids.
Right.
You know, we're talking 30 years ago, and they really, like, they didn't know what to do with me. And I was aggressively acting out, like violently, and, you know, like having these episodes where I was saying I was seeing things and hearing things. So it was the complete opposite, and that brought me on that track of being medicated all the time. So what were you doing all those years when you weren't getting
Nothing. I was just living my life like nothing mattered. You know, I would just act the way that I felt like I needed to act to feel better at the time. You know, my mother really didn't, you know, she worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs at a time. So, you know, I was raised by a single mom, so, you know, she didn't see as much as, you know, she would have had she been there all the time.
Right.
You know, she had to do those things to provide a sustainable life for me.
And anxiety shows itself in so many different ways. Like we were talking, like you get very panicked outwardly, where I'll freeze and almost become paralyzed, and people don't see it at all. Like I can be having a panic attack, and people, you know, will think that I'm just getting really chilled out, which is the exact opposite. I'm freaking out inside. And my panic attacks led me to develop these 4-minute meditations. That was my healing mechanism. That I guess a lot of you don't know that, but that's how I started meditating, was just to deal with the loss of control of my physical body. What did you do?
Well, initially after my diagnosis, I was straight on medication. It wasn't until about 2.5 years later when I broke the cycle of addiction, because I ended up becoming addicted to the anti-anxiety medication. I discovered juicing, yoga, meditation.
You say you discovered, though.
I can't say. Well, really, honestly, I think
like,
discovered is a wrong
I'm
thing.
Do yoga
like, I
didn't.
I think I said it the wrong way. I didn't discover yoga. I feel like yoga discovered me.
Okay.
Yoga was always, not always, but for the past like maybe 8 years, yoga was always somewhere. I started working out around like 23, 24 years old. I mean, I'm 5'7". I was 128 pounds. I wanted, a little bit more confidence in myself. So I started going to the gym. I started working out more often. And I would see this group of people come in the gym. They wouldn't speak to anyone. They would walk in barefoot with a mat rolled up like under their arm, and just head to this room. They would close the door. It was dark. They would be gone for an hour, and they would walk back out the same way they came. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is some kind of, cult. Like these these people are like weird. Like, who's gonna walk around with no shoes on? Like
Sure.
What is this, right? So, like I always had an objective, perspective of yoga initially, and then once I started to juicing was really the key. It really broke me into, okay, you need to take better care of yourself.
Okay.
I started watching documentaries like Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead with Joe Cross, Crazy Sexy Cancer with Chris Carr. Like those really inspired me initially. It was like, these people are going through like the trial of their lives, and instead of going conventional, they go to juicing, and I'm like, well, what is this? Well, if it worked for them, if Joe Cross can get off of his medications and lose the weight and feel better about himself, like, why can't I? Like, I don't have the same thing that they do, but maybe it'll work.
It's all about messing with our chemistry, or correcting our chemistry. The drugs are doing that, and I think people are so ready to accept their advice of their doctors, which is sometimes very good and sometimes very, very bad.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say that doctors mess me up pretty bad just
Me too.
by not even knowing my story, not asking about my diet, not asking about my sleep patterns or my home life even, and then automatically putting me on something. And when you're doing that, you're chemically altering yourself. When you're feeding yourself, it's the same thing. So food can be your medicine. Absolutely.
I agree.
And I don't need anything to feel right now. If I'm eating right, I feel good. Not that I'm completely free from anxiety. It's something I manage every single day, but it's the side effects. There's no side effects from the food.
No, not at all. Except just feeling great. That's all it is, and that's what it does for me. Like you said, to expound on what you said, dealing with any kind of mental health issue or disorder or anything is going to be a daily struggle. Even if you don't have one, it's still a daily struggle. Like the common goal is always to find happiness in some facet. But happiness, in my opinion, is objective. You know what I mean? It's individualized. Like, what makes you happy might not make me happy, but it's really finding a way to be honest enough and true enough with yourself to find what that is. You know what I mean? And stop trying to attach yourself to things that you might think makes you happy, but really finding that true happiness within yourself.
So what makes you happy?
Me.
Whoa.
I make me happy, and
That's a good one.
yeah. I mean, it's because if I can't find it within myself, then I'm gonna always be searching for that next thing. And I learned that from addiction, because every feeling or emotion I had something to counter it. If I was upset, I'd smoke a cigarette. If I was anxious, I'd take a pill. If I had a headache, I'd pop a Vicodin. If I was upset, or even if I wanted to party, I'd go drink. I always had something to counter every emotion, and it was really me running from myself. I had to come to a place in my life where it was like, when are you going to stop running? Accept the fact, you have an anxiety disorder. Accept that. What are you going to do about it?
It's part of you.
It's who I am. You know what I mean? It doesn't make this. It's not the anatomy of me. Like, it's not. I am not my disorder, but my disorder is a part of me. It's a small facet of who I am. And finding that acceptance within myself and stop running from myself all my life. That's what ultimately led me to find happiness.
Acceptance is such a great word, because it's not giving up, which a lot of people think that I'm accepting this, I'm giving up, I'm just accepting what is, and I'm not going to fight the fight. But I didn't want to fight myself anymore either. Like, I'm loud Sometimes I'm obnoxious. Sometimes I say bad words. Sometimes I'm over the top. And I can't help it. And sometimes I have anxiety. And sometimes I have panic attacks. And it isn't who I am, but it's part of the story. And when I accepted that and said, okay, this is what I'm dealing with, and it's okay. It's not ugly. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's just part of the miraculous awesome thing that is Bex, then I can move forward and treat myself more lovingly instead of constantly trying to quiet parts of myself, which was what the drugs were doing.
Absolutely.
Because I did prescription, I did illegal, I did whatever I could to make that part go away, and it won't.
No.
It just gets quiet until it wants to erupt again.
Yeah, medication does nothing but it subdues the symptoms temporarily.
Yes.
But you still have to deal with it. Like, it never goes away. We deal with the problem of perfection, I feel like. I've experienced it with myself, with clients, with family members, friends. We want to be as perfect as possible, but we don't accept our imperfections. A lot of times we look at, oh, well, he has a mental health disorder, like I'm crazy or something's wrong with me. It's like, no, I'm imperfectly perfect. Like, I am who I'm supposed to be. It's just really just dealing with that image of perfection and accepting that imperfection. And like you said, acceptance isn't giving up. To me, acceptance was fighting. That was the beginning of my fight, because everything else from my diagnosis, I still tried to escape it.
Sure.
It's like when I accepted it is when I said, I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm not going to let it defeat me. It's not going to define who I am. And even though, every day I'm going to have to struggle, and every day I have to deal with, with not knowing what's going to happen. I might have a panic attack when I leave here today. I could have one while we're having a discussion. I accept that. I acknowledge it. You know what I mean? So everything that I do is to, number one, find happiness within myself, but number two is to find that peace of mind and find that comfort in uncomfortable situations.
I like that. Finding comfort in uncomfortable situations and accepting that is what is. Because anxiety is so much about worrying about things that are not happening now, but are worrying about what's happening in the future.
Exactly.
And when you say anything can happen and I'm okay with whatever happens, it allows you to come back to the moment and enjoy the space that we're in, or work in the space that we're in, or even if you're not enjoying the space, at least dealing with what's going on right now.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool.
That's what I learned from yoga. Like, yoga taught me that.
Well, that was my next question. So you make you happy, but you still use tools.
Oh, absolutely.
You use the green juice, you use the yoga, and so how does that help you to enhance the you that makes you happy?
Because I mean, again, every day we go through our trials and tribulations, it's especially internally. So even though I am okay with myself sitting down doing absolutely nothing, just being me, I do find that there are some other things like yoga and juicing and bike riding and exercise and meditation that helps to bring me back to me. Yoga is it's a selfish practice to me. I'm not worrying about what this person's down dog looks like and whether or not they're doing the proper warrior too. I'm really centered. I'm focused on me. It helps me to bring that back. We even in meditation, we always go through, when you sit down and you try to find that place of stillness, your mind is always active. It's always active. Well, having a mental health disorder, it's like active times 1,000. So we do need those external things sometimes to help us bring that back.
Yeah.
And that's what I find through meditation, and I do morning meditation every day through juicing. You know what I mean? I'm focused and concentrated on juicing, and inflammation in the body creates inflammation in the mind. So if I can put my body in an alkaline state, it'll decrease that level of inflammation mentally. Same thing with yoga. Yoga's always presents a new opportunity, a new challenge, to become a better version of yourself every time you step on that mat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like all of those things combined keep me centered. You know what I mean? And when I take care of myself, then I can be of better service to other people.
No, that's exactly what meditation is for me, and I think that's why my brand is a little bit different. My brand of meditation is a little bit different because it's a practice not of thinking of nothing. It's maybe a practice of thinking about just 5 things or just hopefully, God willing, one thing in the moment, and allowing all those distractions. I live in a house with lots of kids. I have a family that I'm dealing with addiction and loss and craziness and backgrounds and conflict, and I can't get rid of that stuff. This is the life that I've chosen. It's a life that honestly I love very much and I embrace. So how do I find peace in that chaos? How do I allow all of these things in and still not become affected to the point where I'm manifesting it in panic attacks or illness or migraine headaches or whatever. So that's what my practice is for me. It's a management tool. I don't need to be enlightened and quiet on a mountaintop. I just need to be happy in dealing with my day to day.
Exactly.
So
I agree.
It's a good message because people need to know that they can be happy wherever they are.
Yeah.
They don't have to go somewhere else.
Happiness is a state of mind. It's a personal opinion. You know what I mean? Just like I feel the same thing about negativity. I feel like negativity doesn't really exist. You know, I feel like we create that. You know what I mean? You know, because if you look at any situation, you can always find one positive. And if you can find that one positive and focus your attention on that, then nothing else matters. Then that negativity, that perceived negativity is really non-existent at that point. You know what I mean? So a lot of it is just a state of being. It's a state of mind. Whatever works for you to find that, again, that level of comfort within chaos, you know, or the level of comfort within a uncomfortable situation. You know, whatever works for you that's healthy, you know,
That's healthy.
I recommend it.
So Quentin says, pay attention, find your happy, find your focus, and that's it.
That's it. Simple.
By any means necessary that's healthy. By any
has to be healthy.
Healthy means necessary. Thank you so much. I feel like you brought so much positivity to the BEXLIFE farm today. The birds are singing, the chickens are quiet, everyone's chilled out because you're here. Usually the rooster would be like crowing during this whole video. I hope to see you again and again. If you have questions for him, you can find his links at the bottom of the screen, in the video description below, and all over the internet. You're blowing up. We're gonna have you back when you have your best-selling book.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna hold her to it.
Premonition.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna hold you to it. Okay, we gotta do a high 10.
High 10. There we go.
Thank you. That's it.
Visit Quentin at QuentinVenny.com, and for more bliss delivered to your inbox every single week, sign up for my weekly Bliss Notes newsletter by clicking on your screen or on the first link in the video description. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon in another BEXLIFE video.